What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sports Prodigies with your host. I'm Aiden,
And I'm Swoggle. And today
and
we have a very
today we will be bringing on our friend Jared Koshers to help us out with our top three best picks and top three worst picks of the first round. So, Koshers, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, like I said, we'll be going over our top three picks and our top three worst picks. So, Koshers, you want to start off with your top three best picks?
My top three best picks actually happen to consist of Patrick Queen. I thought he was actually a great pick for the Ravens. They needed interior linemen. He was the best player available at the time, and he's a great steal for him. I also love Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. They got taken 15th overall by the Denver Broncos. They needed another weapon to go opposite of Cortland Sutton and another guy to get into the mix with Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon, and Drew Lock. He had a really good season last year, and I like him. I think that he's going to play well this year, and Jerry Jeudy's just going to help him. But my favorite pick, I'm going to have to go with Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, 13th overall pick. I think he's the best lineman in the draft, and they have a great defense, number 5 in the league last year, and they also obviously have a ton of weapons, and Tristan Wirfs just add to that.
Yeah, I like those picks. I think they're all very good picks. I think all three of them are going to help out their team tremendously, and I think that they're all very good. Swoggle, what do you think?
Yeah, I like those picks.
Okay, so Swoggle, what are your top three best picks and why?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say an order of my top three. I'm just gonna tell you my top three. My top three are Isaiah Simmons to the Cardinals. I think he is a top 3 talent in this draft. They got a top 3 talent at number 8 in the draft. Although they needed a lineman, I just think you can't pass up on this talent and the fact they got him all the way at number 8. The guy ran a 4.39. He can play linebacker, safety. He can play in the slot. He can play nickel. He can rush the passer. The guy basically does it all. So I think that's a great pick. My next pick is Tristan Wirfs of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The fact he was my number 1 offensive tackle on the board, the fact that he fell all the way to 13, basically behind all the other guys, Wills, Thomas, Becton, it was pretty shocking to me, but the Buccaneers got, in my opinion, the best lineman in the draft to protect Tom Brady. And last but not least, to round out my top 3, I have Patrick Queen to the Baltimore Ravens. I believe he was a top 20 talent coming into the draft. The Ravens need a linebacker. We usually draft based on best player available. Not only did the Ravens get the best player available here, we got a position in need, most likely our biggest position of need in linebacker. He sideline to sideline, great tackler, great in coverage. I really think this is a great pick for the Ravens. I really am excited for it.
Yeah, I think Patrick Queen's going to be really good for the Ravens. And I feel like the other two picks were pretty good. They're on my top three. So, Koshers, what do you think of these three?
Swoggles?
Yeah.
I think that he's correct on all 3 of them. I'm very similar with him. The only thing I gotta say, like, Isaiah Simmons is a top 5 talent draft. I'm not gonna deny that, but I think that when you have the holes that this team does at line, then you gotta take a lineman, especially with the talent they had right there. I understand your point of view, though.
Yeah, my top three are very similar. I'm not doing them in order. I'm just going to do them in order of when they were drafted. So my first, what I think was a great pick in my top three was Isaiah Simmons, like you said, Swoggle, out of going to Arizona. I think he's really going to help out Arizona. I think he's the second best player in this draft. So I would put him at top 3 by him going at 8. My next was Tristan Wirfs. Buccaneers traded up for him. I think he's the best tackle in the draft, and I think that he can really help out the Buccaneers. Lastly, I'm going to have to go with your guy, Patrick Queen. I think he was the best player at the time, and I feel like other teams took other players that I think – so, like, for instance, I think the Chargers should have taken Patrick Queen instead of Kenneth Murray. I think Patrick Queen's better. But I think they got Patrick Queen. I think he's a steal to go at 28. So those are my top three. Yeah,
So we have the same top three. Yeah.
I feel like, to be honest,
agree.
like it's
All
pretty
good.
hard. Like everybody knows the steals of the draft. An honorable mention for me was CD Lamb. Personally, even though before you guys say it, the Cowboys didn't need a wide receiver. Let's get that straight. But I think that he's the best receiver in the league. Not in the league. My bad. Coming out of this draft. So I think by the Cowboys getting him at 17 and knowing that the Eagles need one at 21, I think that was a very good pick for the Cowboys. So do any of you have honorable mentions you'd like to say?
Yeah, my honorable mention will be Justin Herbert. I think he comes to a great scenario. Great talented team. They struggled a little bit last year with the play from Philip Rivers, but they're still very talented. And he'll sit a year under Tyrod Taylor, then get the reins of the team. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I wanted the Giants to get him last year, but he didn't declare last year, went back to school, and the Giants obviously went with Daniel Jones.
Swallow, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got an honorable mention. I got Jerry Jeudy to the Denver Broncos. In my opinion, he's the number one receiver in this draft class. Great route runner, very quick. Not like the fastest guy, but very quick feet. Great route runner. They needed a receiver. They got Cortland Sutton on one side, more of a jump ball guy. Now they got the quick, twitchy guy on the other side, Jerry Jeudy. I think they're ready to roll on offense. I really like
Okay, so now we're going to get to our three worst picks in the draft. So, Swoggle, you want to start that one off?
Yeah, if you want. So, in no particular order, just like last time, one of my worst picks is Jordan Love to the Green Bay Packers. I'm just not too sure what they were doing here. It really, Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, can play at least another 5 years. Jordan Love, I don't think is even a first round talent. I think he's a little bit overrated. They traded up for him. I thought they could have gotten him where they were if they really wanted him, which clearly they did. So I really do not like that pick. Another pick I really do not like is A.J. Terrell to the Falcons. I understand they need a cornerback. It's probably their biggest need. But A.J. Terrell is just, in my opinion, just not a first-round talent. He's more of a mid to late second-round guy. I would have liked Jeff Gladney out of TCU better, Jalen Johnson out of Utah, Christian Fulton out of LSU. All those guys I would have rathered instead of A.J. Terrell. So that's one of my other ones. And then my last bad pick of the draft was
No,
Can
we
you guys
actually
hear me?
lost you for a sec. Now we can.
You can hear me? And my other worst last pick is Jordan Brooks to the Seattle Seahawks. I think it was a big reach here. I think he's more of a mid-second round guy. I feel with Patrick Queen still on the board, I feel like this is a classic Seahawks pick as of late. They keep reaching at the end of the first round. They did it for L.J. Collier last year, Rashad Perryman a couple of years ago.
Rashad Penny, not
Jordan Brooks.
Rashad Perryman.
Rashad Penny, excuse me. I think Jordan Brooks is a very good tackler, but he's a little suspect in pass coverage. I think this was a little bit of a reach here, especially with Patrick Queen on the board.
Yeah, so before I go, Swoggle, could you give who do you think was the worst pick in this draft in the first round? Okay.
Jordan Love.
And before we go again, I forgot to do this, so I'm just gonna say I think the best pick. I'm going back to the best pick. I think the best pick was Wirfs at 13. What do you two think? And then I'll go to my worst three.
I think Jeudy was the best pick in the draft. They needed him, and he's the best wide receiver in the draft.
Okay, Swoggle, what do you think?
I don't have a best pick. I have a best three picks.
Okay, so you don't have like a number one. That's fine. Okay, so my worst three. So, like you said, Jordan Love. I think it was a terrible pick. I think this is also probably my worst pick. I don't know what they were doing here. Aaron Rodgers, I feel like it'd still play, and I don't know why they took him. My next worst pick was Damon Arnett, going 19th to the Raiders. I don't really know. I feel like who were you saying earlier? you're talking about AJ Terrell.
Jeff Gladney.
I think this is the same situation as AJ Terrell. I feel like there were a bunch of guys, Jeff Gladney, Christian Fulton, maybe even AJ Terrell should have been, even though he was taken before him. I feel like later, like in the second round, I would even take AJ Terrell before this guy. I didn't really hear much about him, but he was also projected to go in the second round, so that's why I have it as a bad pick. And my last worst pick was Andrew Thomas going fourth to the Giants. I personally think that he wasn't the best tackle. That was Wirfs, I think. And I feel like Wills is definitely better than him. So I personally rank him as the third best tackle, and him going first. I feel like he's definitely pro ready, like all of these tackles, but I would have rather taken Wirfs or Wills. So that's why I have it as one of my worst picks.
Well, this is where you're wrong on Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, I disagree with that as well.
Just because you may think there's other guys better doesn't mean it's a bad pick. And also, he's the most pro ready. That's what the whole thing with Andrew Thomas being one of these top four players is. He's not as athletic or flashy athletic as Wirfs or Wills. I understand that. I totally get it. And honestly, I think Wirfs is better. But I think this is a great pick for the Giants because they need blocking. Literally, that's their big concern. Ever since they've won the Super Bowl and haven't made the playoffs, they need blocking.
Also,
blocking.
Koshers, one more thing that I didn't add. I also think they probably should take an Isaiah Simmons at this pick. I understand they need linemen, but I feel like Isaiah Simmons is a great talent, and he was one of my best picks because he dropped to 8. But I feel like the Giants could have definitely taken him at 4th, and they passed on him. That's why that's another reason.
Yeah, I actually, the reason I think I disagree with you here is there's really no definitive order for the.
No, that's just my
personal.
That's personal.
A lot of people had Thomas at the top. A lot of people had Wills at the top. A lot of people had.
Yeah, but this is my personal one. That's going off me.
Okay. All right, and I'm saying so. The Giants obviously liked Andrew Thomas to where they need a lineman, and this was their lineman that they wanted. Every lineman was on the board, and this is the guy they wanted.
They also knew they could trade. They were trying to trade down. Also, it's not like this is a reach. Also, as in that they knew that this was a reach. They knew it was a reach, and they wanted to trade down. They couldn't trade down, and they said, you know what, we're just going to take our guy, and I have no problems with that. And also to bring up the Isaiah Simmons point, honestly, I think you can get a player closer to Isaiah Simmons in the later rounds than you get a player closer to any of these linemen. It's a lot easier to find a better lineman than you. It's a lot easier to find a better linebacker than it is to find a better lineman. There's not a lot of depth.
I think Isaiah Simmons is the second best player in the draft. Personally, I don't know what you think about that. Like, do you think Isaiah Simmons is one of the best players in this draft?
I would call him top 5. I think Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Joe Burrow are all ahead of them, and even Derek Brown. But after that, that's where I think is Isaiah Simmons.
Okay. I guess we just see different on this. I think by not taking Simmons, they obviously wanted that tackle position. I can't really see how you go wrong with a tackle unless they're like Eric Flowers. But, like, I want to see how he does. Like, I've never really watched a Georgia game, but I just think other people are better. And honestly, out of my worst 3, this is number 3. It's not like number 1. What were you saying? What? Swallow, you there? What were you trying to say something or no? Okay, my bad.
No.
Yeah, but I think it's not a good pick, but I honestly want to see what he does because I may be wrong. So, Coach, what are your top worst 3?
The third player that I have a actually definitive list of who I think is my top 3 worst. Number 3, Henry Ruggs. Very obvious that, in my opinion, maybe not everyone's, but I think CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are lifetimes better than Henry Ruggs. I get that you can't teach the speed that Henry Ruggs has. I get that part. And the Raiders love their speed. But when you need a wide receiver 1 after that whole Antonio Brown experiment failed, Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb were the 2 exact molds that they needed. And they passed on them. And I think that Henry Ruggs is a little bit of a reach there. Number 2, AJ Terrell. I mean, I think agreeing with Swoggle and Aiden, it was a little bit of a reach. Yes, the Falcons needed a cornerback. I understand that, but it was a reach. They could have gotten someone better and maybe even traded back a little bit, but they decided not to and take Terrell a little bit higher. And I cannot fathom why the Packers took Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers wants to be the greatest of all time. He wants to be looked at by the people as the greatest of all time. If he really wants that, there's no way in hell that he is retiring after the end of this contract. He's going to re-up with either the Packers or with a different team. And I don't see where Jordan Love is playing. What time? What's the time frame for him? It's not like a Brett Favre situation like in Aaron Rodgers, where Brett Favre was teasing retirement for 10 years. I think this is just a terrible pick. They had a ton of holes after getting destroyed in the NFC Championship. Awful pick, F grade.
Okay. Does anybody have any honorable mentions they would like to say?
Yeah, Henry Ruggs, I agree with Kosher. I think was a big reach. He didn't produce really that much. He reminds me of John Ross. Speed, but not going to be well in the NFL. Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb were still on the board. Not sure how you don't take them. So
Yeah, I
he's
agree
my
with you
honorable
too. That's
mention.
my honorable mention, Henry Ruggs. So does anybody have anything else left to say? Coach, you
No.
good?
I'm good.
Okay, so that will round out our top 3 best picks and our top 3 worst picks of our first round. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We would like to thank you, Koshers, for coming on. You are welcome anytime you would like.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you, everybody. Hope to hear from you guys soon. Tune back in on Tuesday for our NFL draft. Finishing the NFL draft with Aaron Rubin. Thank you, everybody.